could share screen if that's.
All right, so
Well,
here's
hang on. Oh, okay. Oh, Joe, you're sharing all of the screens.
Yep,
Okay, cool. All right.
I made an executive decision, although
That
I'm
is
not an
easy.
executive. So
No, we love it. Thank you. Okay.
This is great.
So, Diane gave us this opportunity to send in photos of some series we've been working on. And I'll tell you all the backstory of this, and then we can look at the photos. This was last spring, round about April. And I had heard that Vanderbilt had wonderful new gardens and walkways that had just been opened, and people in the neighborhood said it was just a great place to go. You could walk around. The students weren't there. They were all, remote. So I took my camera early one morning to just go take pictures of Vanderbilt's wonderful grounds and have a walk. But I got there right at shift change. So my plans immediately changed. The light was gorgeous. So I probably took about, several dozen photos. And these are 4 that really seemed more worthy than the others. This one you all may have seen at the JCC show. That was part of the JCC show. Try to say that. So there's this one, and then I guess we could quickly go to the next one.
all right.
Yeah, and again, it's just shift change. People coming, people going. She's just getting off. She's catching up with her cell phone with, I hope, great plans for that day. The next one. And the intensity. I mean, this was very early in the pandemic, and you could see how tired everybody was, and it's just this determination, this persistence. They're doing what they have to do, and so
they're probably scared about what they're going to go into.
Yeah. And what did they just come from, and what's next? All of that. Yeah. And yeah, just I really got a little emotional watching them through my camera. Lots and lots of people in their medical scrubs, and the beautiful day. And then of course we've got, this doesn't show it, but this was at the entrance where they had one of those big signs about, these are our heroes, the medical, and these people are getting a good, break, shift change. And I think that was it. I don't think there was another one. Oh, there is. This, yes. She's the first one I saw when I was just walking over to take these, random photos of a garden, and I saw her, and I saw her expression, and just swung into action. So that's it. That is my series. I will say I did think that I would get back during other seasons to see them in the winter, and so forth, but I did not. So that's my series.
And now we're on Nolensville Road. Diane set it up perfectly. You just scroll to the bottom and do next. So Michael Ross.
Yeah, that's my series. Ever since we moved here in 2012, when we first moved here, we're south on Nolensville Road near Old Hickory. And coming down Nolensville Road, at first we were thinking it's, looks a little funky. And as we've lived here, I've grown to love it. There's an arrow in the middle of the photo, by the way.
That's my cursor.
Right. Okay.
I'm doing my best Vanna White imitation.
Thank you. Thank you. I always wanted to be on Wheel of Fortune myself. So yeah, I've grown to love it and love the funkiness of it. And I've wanted to do a series of it for a long time. And I finally got a decent camera. And I finally got out there in the morning, and this barbershop is down towards Nolensville. It's owned by a young woman named Taffany. It was in her family for years, and I've passed it a dozen times, and there were always cars in front of it. And I finally got there early enough that there were no cars, so I grabbed a shot. The light was right, and I did it. Yeah, the Tennessee Quick Cash places always struck me. I mean, there's nothing as orange in the world, I think, as those places. And that was another one. I finally got out there in the right light. The colors on Nolensville Road are just amazing. Yeah, if you go to the next one, yeah, like this taqueria. I'm sure everyone knows it's a very ethnic area. It's from all ethnicities, from Kurdish, Chinese, Indian, Hispanic, obviously. And one thing when I moved to San Francisco, I missed that kind of ethnic diversity when I moved there from New York. When I moved back to New York, I was really happy to be back in it because there's a color involved that's just fantastic. And the colors on Nolensville Road are fantastic. That's Tusculum Bowl, if anybody's ever seen it or been there. That's all.
Great colors and shadows and things in that one.
Yeah, that became kind of a geometric thing.
And
you know,
look,
like-
there's a little camera.
So, yeah, I mean, this is just the beginning. I'm hoping to get out there as many times as possible. The summer is great to do it because it gets light earlier and for a lot of people around. That place is more north on Nolensville Road, up near where the record store is, if people know.
Phonolux.
Yeah, Phonolux. It's just north of that. And the combination of deco, awning, and those colors was irresistible. I didn't realize it's a chain of some sort. I think there's another one.
Hey, Michael,
What kind of camera did you get, Michael?
I went crazy and got a Leica.
Ooh, I was just about to say the colors are just fabulous on them.
Yeah, they say there's no color like a color, and there really isn't. It's
hey, Michael, before
Yeah.
you finish your series, be sure and get the traffic.
the traffic. Yeah, traffic you can find anywhere, but this kind of stuff is. I mean, if I read it's funny. I read a detective series based in San Francisco that was written in the 90s, and they were. I mean, not San Francisco. Yeah, based in Nashville. It was written in the 90s, and he was complaining about the traffic on Hillsborough Road back then. So, but yeah, we've seen it change in just the last 5 years. It's getting crazy. That's why I got to get out there early.
I live on Burkett, not too far down from where it turns
Yeah.
off, not far down from that barber shop.
Yeah.
And sometimes it is backed up as far as you can see toward Nolensville, all the way to Concord Road. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they're going to be widening it, and then they'll be finished with that just in time for where it won't be wide enough.
right.
Are you doing a lot of post adjustments on these?
Not a lot. No. I did, God bless that camera. You don't have to. I mean, some more than others. I guess it's all fine stuff. I'm not afraid to crop if I need to. Sometimes I have to because I was shooting with a 50mm lens, and that takes in a lot of territory. So sometimes I have to crop stuff out, and I'll straighten it out because I'm still working on getting it straight and the lines straight. But no, that was the trick, is just getting there when the light was right. I think I had to brighten up the Tennessee, the Cash place, because it was, I lost the light. It was cloudy. And so I just brightened that up a bit. But I mean, but I'm totally not averse to doing as much post as it needs to get the point across. I mean, I think Ansel Adams is the guy who said photos aren't taken, they're made. And Lord knows he did enough post stuff.
Mhm.
Yep. We ready for Cafe Live? That's Keith.
Well, hello. Can you all see me? sorry, I'm a little late. I'm in the wrong time zone. What this is about is I'm from Louisville, and Lynn and I live in Louisville half the time and Nashville half the time. And in Louisville, every other year, there's a photo biennial in which every art gallery in town, there's about 60 of them, all agree to do photography. And I belong to an art co-op called Pyro Gallery. And my show is coming up in November. So that will be 2 years since the last one. And I didn't feel comfortable going out and photographing in the pandemic. And so I thought, well, what did I miss? And I go, well, I miss cafe life, especially I've probably been to Paris, I don't know, 10 times. And so I started going through all my negatives and just making a selection of cafe life, of which these are just a few, for the show in November. And every time I do a show, I make a goal that is higher than what I know how to do. So I have to learn. And in this case, all my shows have been in black and white or color abstract. This will be my first time having a show with color photographs. So anyone who wants to coach me about how to make better prints, I'm totally looking for instruction. So this first picture is, go back one, is in Paris, and it was a rainy day. And I had this sort of, where I was sitting in the cafe was sort of this inside outside view. And I just sort of liked the perspective of it and took that. And usually when I'm photographing in black and white, I only see composition, but now that I have a digital camera, I saw, I'm paying more attention to color. So you can go to the next one. This is one of the things I just love so much about Paris. Here it's a crowded cafe, but every table is a silo of absolute private conversation. And as close as these people are to each other, everyone's having a very private, individual conversation, and they're all quite animated. And I think that's how it goes. And then when I was looking at these images, I realized, well, people go to cafe to be around crowds, or as couples often, or a lot of times they go solo just to be able to think their own thoughts. So, but this is a good illustration of cafe life in Paris. This is probably New York City and just a Starbucks, but this couple looks to me like they're at the beginning of their flirting relationship. It's sort of a parody of Cartier-Bresson, who's looking for the decisive moment. I'm looking for the decisive emotional moment that tells the story. And so in this one, I think there's something there. Same thing with this. I'm walking through Paris in the Latin Quarter at midnight, and I look into this cafe, this illumination, and see this interaction going on between these two, and it's quite subject to interpretation of what's going on, because she looks gaga in love, and he looks more cautious with that fist. But it was an intimate moment, and so I took it. Same thing. Here's an outdoor cafe, and I try to be quick so people don't notice me, but these people, did notice me. And actually, there's not uncommon. I guess we all have this experience where they're actually making good eye contact at that moment, where they're surprised but before they react defensively. And it's something you wouldn't see in America with the dogs having a smoke and a cappuccino. And
How I felt this morning.
Well,
I'm trying to get the title Monday morning.
This is my wife, and we were at the Frisk, and I went to the bathroom, and I came back, and And I went, oh, I've seen this a lot in cafes. You know, you're hoping the coffee's going to pick you up, but it just doesn't do it. So I put this in here at some risk, I might add, but because she's right here. Now, the other really interesting development that has just happened, this show is going to be in November. And I have a friend who is a Tunisian photographer who works for Reuters and had been in New York for years and moved back to Louisville. And I ran into her in the park and I said, oh, well, let's do a show together. I got a show in November. Do you want to do this Cafe Life? And she goes, yeah. And then she thought about it. She said, I don't have time to go do a new body of work in the cafes, but what I'd like to do, I've always been interested in bringing audio to the still photograph. So what I want to do, I'm going to Paris in a month. I want to record the sounds in the cafe and I want to record music, French music. And I want to put it on an audio with a QR read on the picture. So when someone gets the gallery with their iPhone and their earbuds, they can scan it and then hear the audio, what goes on in that ambiance in that photograph. And I said, that's great. I've never done anything like that. Let's do it. So how it's going to turn out yet, I don't know, but that's what we decided this week. So that's where I am.
Sounds great.
I have a question. Do you do autofocus or do you do zone focusing? Do it manual?
I am doing autofocus. I've gotten very lazy, and that's not a good thing.
The colors look great, Keith.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I feel like I'm just beginning.
Next, we've got Old Car City.
Oh, I took a second trip down to Old Car City a few months ago. I'm sure some of you have been down there. For those of you who aren't familiar with it, it's an old junkyard right off of I-75 about halfway between Chattanooga and Atlanta. And you go in there and you pay your fee. If they see you with a camera, they charge you $10 extra to get in. And it's like, if you like stuff like this, it's like kind of like shooting fish in a barrel. You almost feel a little bit.
I didn't know about this.
It's basically 6 acres of old cars.
Wow.
Going all the way back to like 1930s and 40s, all the way up to 1970s and 80s. They've got cars, they've got trucks, they've got vans in all various stages of decomposition. It's in a forested area, so you get some incredible light and shadows with the sun coming through the trees. This particular car you see initially as you come out of the entrance area, and it's sort of more out in the sun than a lot of the other cars. But I like this. That's I call it mid-century chrome. This next photograph, I'm sure that's a Chevy. It's probably like 58 or 59 maybe.
Seven.
Yeah, I like you get trees growing up through the cars and around the cars because they've been sitting there for so long in the same place. So that's what this is. And they have all these great pine needles that fall on and around the vehicles. So you can see some of those there.
Instant air freshener in the car, right?
Right. Mm-hmm. And this is an old truck. I was struck by the mirror and the color of the rust on the mirror, and the fact that you can see 2 mirrors in the image. and the little splash of green on the dashboard. I like that. I like that image. And some of the cars are stacked up. I like here you can see the old tire with the label on it. It was just nearly an infinite number of shapes and shadows, and you can get color in black and white. And this is, I call this carcass. Get it, carcass, because it looks like a dead animal. I thought.
Sort of reminds me of Iron Giant, the head.
Yeah. But I thought that was that might be my favorite. I like the color.
Mhm.
I like the color.
Ooh, I like that one.
Yeah. It's beautiful. Amazing things happen to cracked safety glass if it's left out in the weather for several decades. So I think that's my contribution.
Any questions for Wayne? That one's my favorite. This one
Yeah.
with the cracked glass and the way you got more than just the window. I like that.
Thank you.
That is a 57 Chevy Bel Air.
Okay.
That was
Gotcha.
earlier.
They have a few of those there. Since that was the year I was born, that's one of my favorites.
Any other questions? This is my gallery, and thank you again, Diane, for doing this for us. This is fun to get to see everybody's work. During the pandemic, I sort of took refuge in nature and went to Warner Park, which is right near my house, and took lots of walks there. And I just became very more aware of the trees. I mean, because it's just you and the trees there, you know, at Warner Park. And this was a particular scene that I call it forest evolving. And it would just represented all these different, you know, some older trees or that were ones that were in decline, and then a new growth, and just kind of felt like, I don't know, I'd read something about how trees kind of can sense each other and there's some collective consciousness with trees. And it just made me think about how during the pandemic, it was hard to find community, and yet, you know, we were sort of all in it together. And again, this is another tree along the path, and I was just fascinated with how the roots and the rocks, you know, somehow coexisted, and the tree managed to be, you know, resilient, even in the face of all that rock. And this one is, I was initially attracted to the light on the leaves, but then when I got home and started processing it, I thought, it looks like it has an eye and nose and a mouth. And so it reminded me of Picasso. And then I got to thinking, no, that reminds me of Lord of the Rings. That's one of those tree people. And, you know, the limbs here are the arms. And so that just struck me as kind of funny. Anyway.
So Joe,
Yeah.
that came as a surprise to you?
That
it was that you did not see that face until you.
Well, I did notice the markings on the tree, but I didn't notice, like, this looks like a mouth with lipstick on it. I didn't notice that part. I noticed this that looked like the eye. But again, when I took the shot, I was focused on the leaves because there was pretty light, you know.
So I think of that as, for some people, a punctum. You started off with one thing, but what makes it really interesting is the little surprise
Mhm.
of the face.
Is that apparent to everybody the way, I mean, again, I tried to process it a little more where you'd notice that, put a little more light on here and sharpened it specifically there. So.
I like the narrow focus that's forces you to look at that too.
This is a Lens Baby lens that I got this year. It's a double glass optic in a composer. So it's an old one that you can't even get anymore. But I've just had so much fun with it. And I just came across an area that's, by the Harpeth River and was just fascinated with the reflection there and all the different ways, all the branches and the leaves and everything went, and how perfectly calm the water was and reflected. So. And this one is called Notes to the Universe. I came upon this tree again in the park, and somebody had tied notes to it. And on the writing on it, which I, purposely didn't try and get, but it says, "Thank you for being so ... And here we are in the middle of a pandemic, and someone has kind of left this little gift for people to find, or maybe it was, their symbolic act or something like that. But I just thought that was so cool. And it was just a reminder for us to be thankful, for each other and what we have during, bad times, so to speak.
Joe, that one's in the Preston, isn't it?
Yes, uh-huh.
Yes.
What kind of lens did you say that was?
It's a Lens Baby composer is the lens, and there's an optic that sits down inside of it. You could probably go to the Lens Baby. I don't even know if they have Leica lenses, but you get, kind of obviously a very shallow focus, and it blurs out a lot. I just have had fun with it.
It looks fantastic.
And then I must have gone to the park 5 different times to take a picture of these trees. I had this image in my head of what I wanted that to look like. And I never quite got it, but it's amazing all the different conditions that have to be right. You can't have wind, you can't have light from the wrong angle, you can't have too many shadows. There's just all this stuff that I was just surprised how I could never quite get the right shot. And this was the closest because it was a bright day, but it was no shadows. And again, I tried all these different lenses with it, and finally got my widest angle and used that. So anyway, and this one I call it "We Are All Connected" because there's this vine that goes all over the place here, way up into this tree and then out of the frame. And I just thought that was really cool and kind of symbolic. Any questions before we go to Happy New Year?
That last one really looks like a community to me, was my first reaction. I can see you really captured that.
Thank you.
Also, the one before with the tags, it looked a little bit like a ship with a big sail, and I'm going back and forth between nature and this sort of fantasy of sailing in the wind, and then back to.
And whose is this? Oh, Emily.
Emily's. I think anybody that knows me knows that I love taking photos of Nashville. Probably in the last 7, 8, 9 years, I can't remember which, would go downtown on New Year's morning after all the crowds had left, and just kind of captured the essence of Nashville that day. This year was had a lot to capture. There was a lot of story and a lot of going on. We have also in the past found like a Happy New Year hat somewhere on the street, and we'd incorporate it. A friend of mine goes with me a lot. We'd incorporate it into one of the photos. Well, this year we knew there wasn't any party the night before, so there weren't going to be any hats on the street. So we had to stop and buy something that said Happy New Year 2021. So even there's a story behind the little headpiece. There was no party the night before, so there was none on the street. Last year we even kind of went up to this kid that had one on his head and said, can we use that for a photo? But anyhow, so the story this year was the fact that there was no party. The other part of 2021 Happy New Year was still COVID testing, and they were set up there in the parking lot of the Titan Stadium so I could get the city in the background and show that's what was happening New Year's Day 2021. The next one, of course, recording the Christmas Eve bombing. Again, very, I don't know what to put the word, it pulled together New Year's Day 2021, the red building there on the right, the AT&T building where you can see the damage and the smoke seared up the side of it. And then Batman building has to overlook everything. You know, it's just part of that. This was from across the street, but again, it ties into what was going on. We had the emergency crews and the white trucks there. You had some tents set up. You could see that there's a sign on the street. You can even see what it says right now. Usually it said something about making sure you had your mask on. So just a totally different scene, 2021 New Year's Day. We were on the other side of the Titans Stadium side and shooting across, and this was the back side of a building where it had been damaged on 2nd Avenue. So this was 1st Avenue. They'd boarded up some of the buildings, and someone had put the American flag up before they put up the boarding. And I just like the flag being there, and again, still recording the events of New Year's Day this year. And the one at the bottom, we stopped at a place on Hillsborough Road, and people were beginning to socialize again, still being outside, still being socially distancing, but the world was, or the city was coming back to life. So the 2021 version of my Happy New Year is, I think, very different than other years where I just captured buildings.
But captured it beautifully.
Thank you.
Any questions for Emily?
What a story, Emily.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's a great story.
Diane?
So I sometimes call myself an event photographer in the sense that I would use trips to actually do street photography. But when you're only doing that, because you only travel so much, it is fraught with issues, not the least of which is I had to relearn to take street photography every trip. So when I moved to Nashville, I tried to commit to getting out, and I did that medium poorly. But in 2019, I decided I just simply have to learn to photograph this city. And I was going to all of the festivals in 2019, and actually the Tomato Festival is where one of the pictures came from that is going into the Preston. But of course, there were no festivals in 2020. So in October 2020, I just started going every week downtown, and it was always pretty busy. I have to tell you, even when it was cold, even at the height of COVID. And it took a while to kind of get back into it, but I think that I'm, feeling pretty good about that now. So this one is called Nashville Memorabilia. I like it because, number one, if you look through the picture, there's all kinds of places where it says Nashville, and it's the kind of things that tourists buy, but it's not just the kinds of things that tourists buy, it's the kinds of things that we all buy and have in our homes. As far as the composition of this particular picture, what I really like about it is the mannequin's arm that comes down and then connects with the man, the reflection of the man, and extends down. So that's just a nice curved line that kind of draws my eye through that part of the picture. Okay. The project that I am doing is called Nashville Playing, and it's real hard not to be kind of trite when you choose music for Nashville, I think. So what I'm trying to do is to create the feeling of how people relate to music in Nashville. And I most of my pictures actually are in black and white, and I have quite a number of them now. And they cover different things, including, for example, this one, which is, let's see if I can get back to where I was to see the various kinds of ways that you can travel around Nashville and drink. And so if you go down just a little bit, you'll see the title: Party Tractor, Party Bus, Party Pedal Bar, Party Fire Engine. However you want to drink while driving, we have it. This particular series, I chose a sub-theme of red. I think it's sort of what I relate to as Nashville red. And so that's why I included this picture. We do a series every other Wednesday on inspired street photography. And it's been kind of interesting to learn about that. Typically, series are more interesting when on Wednesdays for us, if there is a sub-theme. So I try to have a sub-theme now. And in this case, it's the red, trying to tie it together. And the title on this one is Red Speaks Our Language. This actually represents kind of a learning effort on my part. What I realized was when I was looking at the 150 posts that I look at typically per day, I often liked the picture coming in at the corner. And ideally, what would happen is I would have people on both the right and the left independently, so that there would be two stories. It's a little bit problematic in Nashville because a lot of times there's not just two people, there's a bunch of people. So this one was sort of simple, and that's how I chose it. And certainly I enjoy the dogs downtown. Party dogs are welcome. This fellow I got to know, I was down in the city, you know, right around the time of the election, and this fellow was there every day, every day that I was there, of enormously good cheer, even after the election clearly didn't go the way that he wanted to go, it to go. And so this was kind of just interesting to me. Certainly, if you were downtown, you felt that. So this particular picture, I opened it up one night. I don't remember. I often shoot on a Saturday and maybe actually download later in the week. I need a little bit of time between the shooting and the downloading. And I don't recall what had happened that day, but it had been kind of a difficult day, to be quite honest. And I opened up this picture, and the sign says it's Miller time. And this is the way that people make stories in street photography. My dad drank Miller beer, and I can't tell you how many times I heard him say at the end of the day, it's Miller time. And it was the signal to put the day away and just relax. And so this picture has a lot of meaning for me. I will also tell you that my husband and I went out to Longhorn and sat at the bar every Friday night in Birmingham, certainly for years, for 5 years. And we drank Miller beer. It was the last place that we went when he became too ill to go out. And so we told him, you know, we're still here, but it's the last place. And that was when we found out they called us the Millers. So this picture has a lot of meaning for me. It's a little problematic for street photographers. Sometimes we get pretty attached to pictures because of our own personal connection to it. And that's it.
Any questions for Diane?
Diane,
Photos have great titles.
and I loved hearing the idea about a sub theme. That's very good. A
Yes.
new concept.
And I will also tell you that actually a rule, and this is for street photography series, this is a very specific thing, but we are not allowed to mix color and black and white. And so we have to choose one or the other when we post our series on Wednesday.
Wow.
Is Cy on?
He tried to sign on yesterday.
Well, we'll just look through his pictures anyway. I don't see titles on them, so we'll just look at the pictures, and he's an excellent photographer, so I love the smoke there.
I think I was actually reading about it, and I must have been on his website. Maybe I was on Instagram or I can't remember which one it was. This is a place that he goes every year to photograph.
Yeah, he does a lot of kind of what I'd call event photography and captures them always very well.
I think I think that woman, that older woman, she was at that, I was at that place, but I can't think of what it's called. And we took some pictures of her and her son. And
Cool.
then we had them printed and sent to her.
Right.
This is cute with the girls braiding each other's hair.
Is that Copper Ranch?
Yes, Copper Ranch.
I love places that set up and encourage, photographers to come. Oh, that's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
That's great juxtaposition.
Wow.
One of the things that they counsel us about in series, because they're trying to, it's a teaching function, is you start with a really good one and you finish with your best one.
Let's see if he did that.
That looks like a movie.
Yeah.
I like it when people are spread all the way across the frame.
Yeah.
They actually do some movies there.
Right. They do a lot of Westerns.
Nashville murals. Are we ready for that? And that's
Me.
Susan.
Yes. I didn't really think of a series, but since there's so many murals in Nashville, and we get our list and go and figure out what one we're going to take. This one we found by accident. We went to Hillsborough Village and we saw a group of young girls taking their pictures, and we saw this wall and we had to go and take pictures of it. What I liked about it was the reflection. I don't know if it had rained that day, but there was all this water on the ground, and I thought I really liked the reflection.
Yeah, that's cool.
And this one we found by accident. It's right next to a coffee shop, and it's really, really small. And we had a hard time finding it. I found it on my phone. I said, oh, we have to go try this one. And we found it, and just liked all the shapes. And I made it black and white because actually it is black and white. So I just continued on with making sure you could tell that it was black and white. And this was in a parking garage, which we probably shouldn't have been in because it wasn't really safe. But luckily I was with somebody, so I wasn't by myself. And this woman this mural just, I don't know, I can't explain it. She just looked like she's so sad. And I guess that's how I was feeling. So maybe that's why and I like the reflection of that
That's a
too.
great shot.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Do you know who the artist is for the mural?
I have no idea.
Just curious.
And I didn't remember seeing a name. You know how like usually they sign it somewhere?
Yeah.
And this was in East Nashville. East Nashville has some really, really nice murals. And actually I have this one printed. It's on my kitchen wall. And my son used to live in East Nashville, and the person he lived with got married, and I printed one for them.
Very good.
And this one's on Charlotte Avenue. And it just, I don't know, it just said something to me. Especially in 2020.
Mhm.
You wanted to know that it was going to be okay. And this one I saw from my office in HCA. And I had to find it because I really liked it.
It's
Yeah,
beautiful.
that's great.
And actually my sister liked it so much. She asked me to make a t-shirt. So she has a t-shirt of it. My sisters love my pictures and they want them on t-shirts. So I sent them a lot
Clouds
of
too.
t-shirts.
Great shot.
Thank you.
Any questions for Susan? Stacy,
Yeah.
you're up.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this was, I took a bunch of photos during the pandemic. I was drawn to people that were kind of living on the margins. I was drawn to a lot of loneliness and isolation, maybe because of my own feelings of loneliness and isolation during that period of time. Like this photo is, right by Printer's Alley. And I happened to be wandering by and this guy was walking by and I took this photo. So, it was, it became kind of a series of how do I capture this time in Nashville, which is, a little almost anti to what Diane was saying of all the tourists and all this. Who are the people that are living on the edge?
Hi, just a second. There we go.
Yeah, that's another.
Susan, you need to mute.
Sorry.
No,
Yeah.
welcome, Susan.
Yeah, we're glad you're here.
Yeah, she was sitting out on Church Street. Again, during the time of the pandemic. And to me, again, it was this just tremendous sense of isolation and loneliness. So, again, it was kind of what I was drawn to. It's, I don't get into the very artistic analyses. It's more of what strikes me at the moment, especially because I come out of a music background. It's like, I write what what I compose. So that's, actually, though this shot is fascinating to, this guy, he saw me walking around with my camera. And again, it's right near Church Street and 5th, downtown Nashville. And he had his mask on, but then he said to me, if you give me enough money to buy a pizza, I'll let you take my photo. And so I laughed and I said, okay, yeah, definitely. And then he dropped his mask and he looked at me in this manner, which was just astonishing, like he'd been in front of the camera before. But, the $8 for the pizza was totally worth it to me, because this is actually my favorite photo of this series.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah,
Great
he was,
picture.
and then this guy was on, I think this was fourth. And he was talking to a couple of friends that he had. But the contrast with the bike and the shutters behind him, and the guy that he was talking to, and actually off camera, there were another two guys that he was talking to. But there was, again, just a moment of this. It's been a year of tremendous isolation and tremendous strange times that we've all been living through.
Stacy, what I really like about this picture, I think I even mentioned it to you, is the part of the fellow that we can see behind the column.
Yeah.
And among other things, you've got a nice line going from his leg up his arm. And we definitely have the ability to kind of fill that in. That's the way our brains sort of work. So that adds a nice dynamic diagonal.
Yeah,
that is the punctum for me. That is the little surprise. It just makes the picture.
Diane. Plus the musculature of his arm. You know, he was so defined in who he was. It was just fascinating to me. So, you know, again, it's, you know, you wander around and you don't know what you're going to find. And, you know, street photography, what I love about it is it's that Zen moment that you're suddenly out of yourself, and what I love about street photography is it's the opposite of a selfie. It's you're not taking a picture of yourself. You're just outside of yourself, looking at everything in your environment, trying to capture that moment. And you know, that's what I like about this picture, that it's like, I don't care about myself at that point. I only care about that person. And this is another one where, and I didn't have what I call my good cameras with me. This was with my iPhone. And I happened to have a meeting on Fifth Avenue of the Arts at Chauvet Gallery. And, you know, I went down there without my camera, but I wandered out. It was raining and I had my iPhone, and this guy was there. And all of a sudden, this is a photo, you know, opportunity of, you know, in the rain, of some sense of isolation. So anyway, you know, it's another one of those moments of you get out of your own head and into somebody else's mind.
Any questions for Stacy? Great shot, Stacy.
Thanks.
All right, John.
Good afternoon, good evening, everybody. First of all, let me give you a little bit of background. I really don't do much series shooting. Very, very few series. I was thinking I have one other that if we ever get something else going, I'll bring it. To me, when you get into series, and some of the, you know, I appreciate them and they're great, but I don't do them that much, because to me, they say they look like this would make a great tabletop book, photography book, and I don't really, that's not my style. I'm looking for visual, emotional impact and visual impact, basically. This picture was made 2 years ago. I was at my son's house just outside of Atlanta, and my granddaughter, Molly, who was 6 years old at the time, left her doll laying in the middle of the floor in the den. And to me, it looked, well, Well, it was abandoned, it was discarded, it was lonely. And I took out my 4-year-old phone and shot a picture of it. And when I got back, I ran, like I do all my phone pictures, I ran it through Adobe Camera Raw and ended up with a progression of images. Now, I don't know why there's this much difference in size. I'm not sure.
I didn't work as hard sizing yours because I was hurrying. I can do that later. I might be able to change that.
Okay, so I began, and this is all. The whole series is a progressive series coming from that one picture. And so, as a number of you are aware of my work, I do a lot of abstract, and some of it is strictly non-objective. And this one is becoming that. And as it progresses, it gets more and more abstracted. And it, go on to the next one, ends up as I don't know how you would define them, but my images are made to hang on a wall somewhere in some type of decoration, some type of furniture, etc., etc. But
Yeah, interesting progression there. Any questions for John?
and don't ask me how I did it. They're unique. I could never duplicate any of them.
Good. So that's the end. That is the end of our group.
That's right. It goes back to circles back. I'm gonna, let's see. Let's go back here. Just thought we'd sort of scroll down and revisit the title image. You know, we had Emily's and Michael's, Keith, Wayne, me, Emily, Diane. Wish Cy had been here to tell us about his images, but they were good. And Susan, Stacy, and John. I always think why I did that is because I was just thinking that it's always so fun to see so many different styles and subject matter and expertise and, you know, all these different things that everybody brings to the group. Any other discussion points anybody wants to have?
So I will leave these galleries up until the next meeting. And actually, I will provide a link. Right now, my plan is to provide 11 links actually at the end of each blog. That way, if somebody wants to go, so it'll be the photographer's name, the name of the gallery, and then if somebody wishes to click that, it'll go to that gallery. I don't have a lot of visitors to my galleries, but you know, some.
Well, Diane, this was very generous of you to do this. And as Joe said, I was struck over and over again by the different sensibilities, approaches, techniques, just in the sort of random pulling together these series.
Great idea.
I'm really trying to kind of increase interest in galleries, and I had already made up my mind that I wanted to have guest galleries. So this is a nice trial out.
Right here, I have to jump to something else real quick. I think, Diane, you did a great job. Joe, thank you for jumping in there and making it work on our screen. We were talking earlier about books. I think anybody has a book idea, if you can email that book idea, I will make a survey that I can put up next week and everybody can choose. What do you think of that?
That Sounds good.
Sounds good.
I have a question. Are there any projected times for any of the physical meetings to start?
Maybe you add that to your survey. Ask people how comfortable they are. Are people ready to go back?
Oh, yeah, we do need to figure out that. I've already talked to, now her,
Robin.
I'm having a senior moment. She just left my mind.
Robin.
No,
Robin
not
Oliver.
Like I said, I'm having one of those senior moments. Why can't I think of her name?
Are you talking about Dawn?
Dawn, there we go.
Oh.
Dawn's gonna be doing hopefully our next meeting to go over the pics.
I thought she was going to do July. She can't, she's out of town in June.
No, oh, that's right. Why am I thinking it's June already? Never mind. All right, yeah, we'll be July. July is the one I'm thinking we're hoping we can do in person again.
This is Lee. I would suggest touching base with Robin just to make sure that they're comfortable having groups back there, and everything may be fine, but I would touch base with her to clear it out.
Well, I was going to. So that's what we're looking at right now is in July. Hopefully we'll be back. Those people who want to be live, we'll try to figure out a way to people who don't want to come in can still do it on Zoom or however that works. Robin says they do have a way of doing that. But Dawn's going to speak about our Preston show in July. So I think it would be
When's the reception?
What?
The reception, isn't there going to be a reception for the show?
John, they're figuring that out. The hotel is hoping to get clearance from corporate headquarters to do it. It's been a rough year for the hospitality industry.
Oh, yeah.
And I told him we'd be happy with just Cokes. You know, you don't have to put on the dog for us. We want to have a group together. So they're looking at the CDC guidelines, at their budget and so forth. It will not be this summer. It may be this fall.
Be fine.
So what do we have for next month? The book is for August. Trying to figure out what we got.
Let's get Denny to do a program.
Yeah. Denny, where you at?
Find out, don't you see? I don't know how to do anything.
It'll be our last Zoom program, right? Maybe.
That's what we're hoping. Well, I will see what we can come up with between the, like I said, everybody's got a book idea, send it in to me and we'll make a survey, we'll send it out. And on that survey, I guess we'll put on if people are willing to meet again in person.
After you clear it with Robin.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, we could always meet outside somewhere.
It'd be kind of hard for her to show us the photos.
Yeah, I know.
Or June, maybe we could just have a social. Heck, who knows?
Okay.
I think I'd rather do Zoom than be outside in 90-degree heat.
Oh.
I know we get Deshaun to do his end 2020 photos next month.
Ooh.
The video and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I see him there.
Yeah, I'm here.
Could you do that?
Yeah, I can do that.
Ah, that'd be
Yay.
terrific.
Good.
I've really enjoyed the Zoom, and I'm getting to know you guys better than had it been in person. And I belong to an artist breakfast club in Louisville where we meet every Thursday morning, and the pandemic's coming to an end, but we voted that we would just do the first Thursday of every month in person, and the other 3 we would keep on Zoom because it's been so productive.
Ah,
Question.
can,
Wonder if there would be anyone interested in getting a small group together for a separate meeting out of this group. Well, there may be some already in existence, though.
I think small groups come and go in this bunch.
Yeah.
And I will say this, that I have had the pleasure of going on shoots with probably 8 or 9 of you. And that's a great way, go learn somebody else's part of town. And
Well, a lot of the groups, I know of the groups out of the Brentwood Club, a lot of them have projects that the small group does, let's say,
well,
that type thing.
I think we are a small group, snap.
Yeah. Brentwood's got a lot of people for small groups. Well, I mean, there was the photo boys and the photo girls for a while. Is Kay out there somewhere?
She had a retirement party for somebody she had to go to today.
Where's John Mott tonight?
Well,
Okay.
More business. Anything else we need to talk about?
Or anybody?
This is a great program. Thank
Yeah.
everybody for participating.
Yes, all the photographers and
Let's-
Diane for putting it on her website.
I would say I'd like to do it again sometime, different theme or different topic, and
It's kind of a nice way to catch up with what people are thinking about and working on.
Yeah, excellent. Maybe September.
Maybe we should do it like every 4 months.
Really?
Diane doesn't mind having new photos on her.
We'll all get better at this. Yeah. All right. Well, I am going to, as the host here, leave and go get the macaroni out of the oven. So good to see everybody. You can
Bye-bye.
Hi, Emily. Thank you.
Bye-bye.